Welcome back to the Veterans Radio Show. We want to wish everyone a very happy new year. We're already a few days into it, but we want to wish our veterans, military families, and all of really everyone a happy new year. My name is Shelley Harrison. I'm your host, and we're here with the Veterans Radio Show, and we talk with heroes in action. We have a wonderful guest today who you're going to meet shortly, and I am excited because I've met him before, and it's a really interesting topic. So we'll kind of get into the interview here in just a moment. I want to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch us. We love your live questions. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask our guest, or just simply ask questions, we're here for you. I want to thank our backstage team. We have Joseph Molina, who is our executive director of the National Veterans, actually the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and also of the radio network. And we have Jimmy behind the scenes, who always orchestrates so well and keeps us on track with this show. And we have Dolly Rivera, who is also my co-host, and you'll see either Dolly or I, depending on the flow of the show. So we want to give Dolly a shout out. Happy New Year, Dolly, and I hope to see you soon too. So our guest today is Greg Carson, and he is a patent attorney and biomedical engineer. And he also is he spent time in the military with the actual U.S. Air Force for 13 years. So we'll meet him in just a moment. But I want to tell you about him. Greg is a patent attorney licensed to practice before the United States Patent and Trademark Office in patent cases. He is a biomedical engineer, like I mentioned. Gregory owns and operates Carson Patents, a patent services firm. And Greg has been working with the latest new human technology since 1986, when he joined the U.S. Air Force. And like I mentioned, he was there for 13 years as a clinical engineering officer. Carson Patents is a certified disabled veteran owned business. So without further ado, I want to bring on Greg.
Hello, Shelley. How are you?
Hi, Greg. I'm doing wonderful, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think we're both in California, so we're on the same time zone. But I definitely would love to have you just share a little bit about yourself and who is the man behind your company.
Well, I'll clarify one point you made. We're actually a service-disabled veteran-owned business. I'm a service-disabled veteran, and that let us get that verification through the VA, right?
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. We appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, they probably don't deal much with patent attorneys. They haven't so far, right? Because it's a different kind of thing. When you invent something, either it belongs to the company that you work for already, or you want to keep it secret from everybody. So that's one of the reasons I got into this was the enormous cost of getting patent services. I'm a patent attorney. We are the most expensive legal service there is. For good reason. If you get a patent, it's a new constitutional right, equivalent to your right to bear arms or vote or anything else. It's just for your invention, controlling the making, using, and selling of it. I kind of got into it in part for that. Myself and some co-inventors 20 or so years ago were 6 figures into a patent firm in San Francisco.
Wow.
And the patent office contacted me and said, you have something here. We just think your patent attorneys are messing this up. So if you come do this yourself, we'll help you. So I actually enabled my own first patent.
Oh my goodness!
And that's how I ended up doing this. Doing this has very little to do with the lawyer thing. It has much more to do with the engineering thing. Patents are something lawyers actually aren't qualified to do. There is that special license that you mentioned up front.
Right.
It is that sort of thing that it's useful in that sort of tight little space lets me deal with. I call them my people. I'm one of the crazy inventors too, right? Turns out that's the only thing we really have in common. We have people all over the world that do that. But the reason and the whole thing behind this was I was an inventor myself and just didn't feel like I was getting the service I should have been getting for the amount of money we were paying. So we try to do better than that.
Oh, most definitely. And, I think there's a lot of people who will be watching and, either they have an invention or they have something, that they would love to be able to just get it out there. So in simple terms, tell us what a patent is, just so for the, sake of people understanding what a patent is and how to use it.
Okay. I'm going to actually go a little broader at first for a particular reason. It sets the stage. Property is property. There's three different kinds: personal property, real property, and intellectual property. Personal property, your car, $50,000 worth of damage. Your house, $500,000 worth of damage is a real property. Intellectual property can be many, many zeros more. And I frequently use the example of Samsung paying Apple $517 million a year because they violated their text patent for 17 years.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
So the scale of things is a little bit different, but it's property in that sense, right? We tell our inventors to think of it as personal federal property, but it's a constitutional right. It comes from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the Constitution. It's a brand new constitutional right created. The simple answer is this. The answer that you were looking for is this. It's the right to control the making, using, and selling of your invention that every court in the country and the world will support.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And that's a very good explanation. And, I recall, and this is going way back a few years ago, or a lot of years ago, I was kind of told by it, and I want to say it was a patent attorney. They said that whatever your invention is, write it up if you have, a script, or not a script, but like an outline of your item or whatever you've invented. Send it to yourself via mail and do not open it. And now, is that still the case, or is
that's actually never been the case?
Oh, okay.
That's never been true. What you're talking about is a thing that's referred to as the poor man's patent. You are documenting that you invented it by mailing a copy of it to yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't grant you any rights of patent or anything else. And the thing that it could have served would have been a copyright sort of purpose, which is accomplished by your publishing it in the first place. Yeah. So there is actually no such thing as a poor man's patent where you mail it to yourself and don't open it, and then you're protected.
Well, that wouldn't be the only thing. You still have to go through all the protocols of getting the patent.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of what it comes down to, is people do that kind of thing by submitting their package of materials. We call them inventors' notebooks, right? As crazy inventor people have little notebooks we keep our little sketches and stuff in, right? But they send copies of that stuff to the patent office in the form of an application and ask for it to be a provisional. Yeah. If you have the parts that look like specification drawings and the details, they'll say, okay, but a provisional patent is really nothing more than a place in line for 12 months for you to file an actual application.
That's the length of time. So when somebody has an invention, what is the first step?
Okay. Go through what I call a 5-step process, because the first thing you need to do is go look. That step 1 is prior art search. You go look to see if somebody else out there has done it. We have on Carson Patents, our article, we have an article on how to do a search, and it walks you through different search engines using keywords and phrases and things to look for
on Google in different places.
There are 4 special patent databases in the world. Google has one, the USPTO has one, the World Intellectual Property Office has one, and the UK Patent Office has one that we offer to people as free resources. Yeah. But it's not just the patent applications and patents that have to be searched, it's the internet as a whole. I'll give you an example. We found a 12-second description of an inventor's invention in the middle of a 2-minute video on fishing.
Oh my goodness.
But the person at that time basically spelled out what this inventor's thing was in about 12 seconds, which longer could he get a patent for it? So, but the first thing you do is go look to see if there's something else out there. If there's not, and it is patentable, I do a patentability study. When I file an application, I have what's called a reasonable good faith-based belief that what I'm filing is allowable. I know that by looking in the prior art to see what else is out there, to see if it has been claimed or if it's obvious. That's the second step, is figuring out, is it patentable? Right. If it's not out there and it is patentable, now we write an application for it.
Hmm.
That's the super expensive part, right? That first part, you probably get that done for $1,000 to $3,000, depending on which kind of patent attorney you talk to. But the writing of the patent application itself is usually in the $4,000 to $6,000 range, and that doesn't include responses to things later.
Yeah, we just had a question come through about the cost, because I think that's a lot of people really want to know, and even on a provisional patent is, maybe you can speak to that.
Well, those two separate issues, but they're related in this way. I have a tendency, and I'm not necessarily, about half of patent practitioners do it my way and half do it the other way. Mm-hmm. I will always do the search and patentability study first so that I know what I'm writing to get my way into. There are others that will just write for you, right? But filing an application is that expensive bit up front.
Yeah.
If done right, I mean, once filed, your patent pending, and off we go. Then we turn into what's called patent prosecution, and that's our step 5. But the waters get a little clustery over there because the patent examiners, while in truth, they are very much on the exact same page as I am. In fact, I've had them call me just randomly saying, I got a small change. Can we do this? They're trying to allow it. It feels like they're not, because they tear it apart, which means when you get an application, you'll get an applicant. Most applications have some change necessary to it. It's that prosecution part, working with the patent office to get it worked out, that becomes the issue. So writing an application and cost is connected to all of that in this way. Provisionals and non-provisionals are two separate applications. The difference between a provisional and a non-provisional is claims.
Okay.
A patent is 100% about its claims. So if you put a provisional in that doesn't have the language that supports what you need later for the claims, when you file your non-provisional, you could have trouble and end up with a new filing date anyway. The downside that I like to point out about the provisional is you're going to pay me to write 2 applications, when if we just spent a few more days, we could write the whole thing up front and get it done, right? We can always change, amend applications later.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's less expensive usually for us to go straight to the non-provisional, file the claim, so that we have the support in the specification. There's no questions about the filing date, who was first or not first, because the dates are all complete. So I have a tendency to stray away from provisionals, like half of us do. The other half stray towards them.
Yeah.
Provisionals are only less expensive because there's no claims. They're right. Okay. But the patent is about the claims. So is that really the right? I mean, that's a decision that we make on an inventor by inventor basis.
Yeah.
But I have a tendency not to want to charge you to write 2. Let's just get it done with the first time and amend it if we need to.
Yeah. And we actually had a question come in: patent versus secret.
Trade secret can be way better, much better, and so much cheaper. You just cannot imagine how much cheaper it would be if you don't go. Through my firm, it's in the $8,000 to $12,000 range from start to finish over that 1 to 3 years that it's going to take before we get finally finished with an issued patent and it's in your hands.
Yeah.
For veterans, we do a 25% discount, so it's less. But go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Because I was going to ask, do you have for veterans, do you offer a discount, for helping them to get a patent?
Yes, you bet.
Yeah.
We offer a 25% discount. We offer a 25% discount to veterans, and it's purely because of, I think I've mentioned to you before, I was kind of upset about the 6-figure payment I made to patent attorneys that messed mine up. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So it is that sort of case. And as a service disabled veteran myself, since it's perfectly legal and allowable for us to discriminate and help our own kind a little better, hey, I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah. Wow, that's appreciated. And another kind of tag on question would be how to control a trade secret.
Okay. Non-disclosure agreements are really the only way. So building trust with the people is the only way, right? That it is the case where there's some very well held trade secrets even today. And the most infamous one is the Google search algorithm. How do you get your
Oh,
website listed on Google? What are the 280
yeah.
things or whatever it is?
What are those
That's a
secret ingredients, right? Secret
exactly
ingredient.
right. That's a
Yeah.
trade secret that is kept by
Ah,
Google under non-disclosure agreements with their employees, controlled by intellectual property clauses and that kind of thing. But the
wow.
truth is, eventually those people usually find, the KFC secret recipe is another trade secret that's been
Yeah.
kept, right? The 13 secret spices. Well,
Mm,
I think they've been identified now, maybe not in proportions, but it is the kind of thing that becomes increasingly difficult. And so the only real way to control it is to limit the number of people that have the information about the trade secret to
mm,
begin with.
yeah.
Or alternative, if it's a different mechanical process, sometimes it's easier for you to do that process for them and then give them back the thing so that they don't know how to do it at all.
Yeah. No, that is fascinating because when you mentioned KFC and, there are some other things out there where we'd love to know their secret, like Pepsi, what's
Right.
their secret to, versus Coca-Cola,
Exactly right.
so it's all that branding and stuff. And, when you really look at kind of what intrigues you about this industry, what do you most enjoy, Greg, when you help your clients? What's most important to you and how much do you enjoy it?
I'm 100% retired. I do this out of my home. My entire team is 100% remote. In fact, my primary patent paralegal and I have only been in the same state physically 2 times over
Oh,
the years that we've been together.
yeah.
She's wonderful, fantastic, but lives and works 2,000 miles away.
Oh my
That keeps
gosh. I
us
went on your
small.
website and I saw your team. So yeah, very
Yeah,
nice.
we're small and lean. And now I've lost the question, Shelley. Where was I going?
So just, how do you feel when you're helping people? What does
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
do for you? Yeah.
My whole team and I are here for the same reason. We like what's new. We like to learn new stuff. It's every single phone call cannot be predicted what the content's going to be. The inventions are all over the place,
Yeah, I would
but for
imagine.
sure
Yeah.
it's new, right?
Yeah.
Nobody. Well, I got something I think I can just work. That's not what they call it. They call it new
Yeah.
stuff. So we get to learn new stuff all the time. And one of my favorite parts about this is that I get to learn new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But
And I look at these, products that are out there, when you look at the Post-it note, look at how simple that is. But can you imagine the person that came up with that invented Post-it note?
Exactly
I
right.
mean, that's crazy
That
when you
was done
start
through
thinking about it.
3M, and there's less personal to that than you might imagine. But I have an example for you. A gentleman in Alaska invented the two little bumps that you put on the corners of landscaping bricks so that they line up with each other.
Mm.
He got 1 cent per bump for everybody worldwide. It was about $450,000 a month in income.
Wow.
I'm
Wow. That's
inventing a simple
incredible.
little bump on a brick so that they would line up, right?
Isn't it? Oh my gosh. That's
But
all it
that's
takes, just somebody having this epiphany or an idea, and
exactly right.
yeah. And quick question, patent versus licensing. What is the process?
You can't really license without a patent. At least almost no one is going to be interested in it unless you happen to have a trade secret process that can't be replicated otherwise.
Yeah.
In order to license something, you have to have a right to control it in the first place. Patent, copyrights, and trademarks are all licensed, but you need the original intellectual property before you can license it as a general rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is all fascinating, Greg, and we'd love to find out, how can the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce support you?
Send inventors our way so we can help them at less cost than others.
Oh, well, we will certainly, have you in our back pocket when it comes to patents.
Hey, we're here for it. Yeah, if it's a new idea or some crazy, hey, give us a call. We'd love to hear about it, and we might be able to help you protect it.
Yeah, well,
We just want to be involved and help where we can. Really, is kind of what it's about. We're not looking for anything in particular. We're just trying to help where we can. And since it's this narrow little weird space that we know is expensive and complicated, and I fit really good here.
Yeah.
This is what we can do.
Wow. Well, what would be ideal is if you could submit an article that talks about, patenting or something, that's really kind of fascinating. Maybe that would be something that we could put in our newsletter. Yeah.
Give me a topic and we can do that. We write all the time.
Yeah.
I would very much like to do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we can't wait to get that article. And last question, do you do trademarks?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah. As a general rule, not for much more than our own inventors and things, because I do have a tendency to focus on the patents.
Yeah.
But it's an inventor. It's a veteran's thing too, right? So if it's a veteran and all they need is a trademark, yeah, we'll do it. Somebody just popped up the cost for trademarks.
Yeah.
My cost, and in truth, my cost is going to be higher than some you'll be able to find. We charge average about $800 an application.
Yeah.
I'm not just a regular attorney. I'm a patent attorney. My license to file trademarks is a side effect of my ability to file patents. And so it's not something that I've focused on a lot, other than it happens all the time because inventors are always trademarking new things that go with their stuff, right? So we do it. It's not nearly as expensive as you might imagine, and also not nearly as something you should jump on as you might imagine either. Usually, you're better off using it for a couple of years before we apply for a trademark. Just be sure you're registered as a doing business as within your state.
Okay. Absolutely great information. Can't wait to get that newsletter. And, definitely, Greg, we want to salute you for your service too in the Air Force. And thank you so much, for your dedication. And I know that, you had a 13-year career, and you mentioned that you were doing some construction, before and after in the military.
I did. I built hospitals. I was a clinical engineer. Actually, the Air Force was just bringing in clinical engineers for the first time back in the 80s when I was brought in. I was one of the first 36 that were brought in, which is why they used biomedical engineers to form clinical engineers. And the clinical engineers were there to just build the hospitals and install new medical equipment and stuff, which is what I did, but kept me in the middle of, but I was right there inventing and wrote part of the software to create digital radiology. We moved from film to digital when I was there, and I made a contribution. So it was really mutually beneficial. The service was fantastic. I loved the Air Force.
Yeah, that is wonderful. And we appreciate your service, and thank you for being on the show. We are happy, that everybody who joined us today, we definitely want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch us on multiple platforms. And we want to thank our guest, Greg Carson, who is a patent attorney and gave some great information, today about how to get started, where to look for that information. But definitely reach out to Greg. We'll make sure that his information is in the chat with this particular episode. So thank you again to all of you who joined us today, and we wish you a wonderful new year of prosperity and just joy, and go out there and make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.